No, you don't.
Okay, come on, drag you out.
Go ahead, drag me out.
Hey, now you're gonna mace me? Really? Really, guy?
Cause for me to exit this vehicle. You have no probable cause for me to exit this vehicle, Officer Mayle, and you know it. No, you don't.
About 1 week ago, I posted an update video about the so-called anabolic cop who got arrested here in West Virginia.
The victim said she was on the phone with 911 when Mayle allegedly grabbed her by the throat and slammed her against a door and down onto a bed.
There's now another update. He has now been fired from his current position with the Elkins Police Department. But get this, the city of Elkins issued a press release saying they terminated Officer Mayle after his arrest, but they also said this: the extensive online conversation about this matter, talking about my video presumably, has included some inaccurate information. At the time of the hiring by Elkins Police Department in 2024, Mayle had never been fired from another police department, nor had he been disciplined or investigated by another police department. So I would ask the Elkins Police Department, what the hell do you call this?
I'll be more glad. Actually, hang on. There's no need for that yelling and everything like that, okay? Is there something I can do for you, sir?
This was the same cop that I had originally featured in a video of him macing a guy and dragging him out of a car.
You have no probable cause for me to exit this vehicle, Officer Mayle, and you know it. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Okay, well, I'm gonna drag you out then. Yep.
Go ahead, drag me out.
Hey, now you're gonna mace me? Really? Really, guy?
I named him the Anabolic Cop because he was just a tiny little guy, and all of a sudden he got huge, seems like out of nowhere. Looking at his publicly available Facebook stuff, I think we get an idea of why this really happened. This is really a case of respect my authority, and it's sort of him losing his temper. A lot of police officers are into steroids. And I only say that in regards to this case because if you look at the last post on his Facebook page, it says, "Feeling anabolic this evening, get better," or GTFO. And then he's standing there with like his gym buddy in the gym and he's holding a gallon jug of water. So that's him on June 7th of this year, just a few days ago. Compare that to the picture of him with his dog in May of last year. He's gotten much bigger. He said he's feeling anabolic. Does that mean he's taking illegal steroids? Well, we can see the difference. But not surprisingly, it also seemed to affect his temperament. So in the last video, I asked the question, wait, why is he now with Elkins Police Department? He was just with the Barbour County Sheriff's Department. That involves yet another video. And that video, from my understanding, is the reason that he was basically forced to resign from the agency he was working at last and move to a new one. The community there provided me with an answer to that and a video to go along with it. And the video shows egregious constitutional violations committed by then Deputy Mayle walking onto the property of an innocent homeowner in Barbour County, West Virginia, using violence on him and arresting him, once again in total disregard of the Fourth Amendment. And for that reason, the criminal charges that he tried to trump up on this innocent homeowner had to be dismissed. And in fact, that man and his family did submit a formal complaint to the Barbour County Sheriff's Department. Shortly afterwards, guess what happened? Mayle resigned from Barbour County Sheriff's Department, and he went and popped up in the Elkins Police Department. So while the Elkins Police Department is trying to cover its own ass, saying that there was no prior misconduct, perhaps what they're really doing is shining a light on one of the real problems that we have. When cops get in trouble, they get to quietly disappear and pop up somewhere else, even though the law says that's not how it's supposed to happen. So while Elkins said this,
the city says that because he was terminated with cause, he loses his state certification as a sworn law enforcement officer under state law.
I'm going to tell you why that is not exactly true. This incident occurred on May 5th of 2024 in Philippi, West Virginia, which is the county seat of Barbour County. What happened? Well, nothing really. No crime had occurred. Somebody hit a deer. That's it. It just happened to occur in front of the sublet home. Police officers responded to the scene of a deer strike. It was nighttime, dark outside. Deputy Mayle blocks the sublet's driveway. Now, this is a rural highway. It can be dangerous at night. The police cruiser was obstructing the driveway, preventing the sublet's children and their friends who were on their way home to pull into the driveway. This then created a dangerous situation. They were almost struck by other vehicles because they couldn't pull into the driveway. It shouldn't have been a big deal at all. There was plenty of room along this road. The father/husband, James, asked Officer Mayle to move his police car so that his children and their friends could get in, but he refused to do so. He asked him again. He refused to do so. Next thing you know, Deputy Mayle begins to walk up the driveway, and he approaches the homeowner on the homeowner's property and shines a flashlight right in his face. The homeowner was still worried about the safety of his children and their friends to be able to pull into the driveway. He asked Mayle again to move, but Mayle just escalates the situation. Meanwhile, when the children and friends get home, they had to literally drive through the ditch, creating muddy ruts to be able to pull into the home. The homeowner works in the coal mine industry and remarks something to the effect of, "This is just a deer strike. You don't need to block my driveway. I've life-flighted coal miners from much more dangerous situations without creating such an unsafe environment as he was doing just then." It was in response to that Mayle demanded his identification. The homeowner questioned this because he had not committed any crime and he's standing on his own property. It was then that Mayle resorted to violence. That's where another officer is walking up, and we see the body cam footage, and not Mayle's body cam footage. He had his turned off apparently, but we have a city police officer's body cam footage showing the violent takedown to the ground performed by Deputy Mayle to this homeowner.
Here we go. Give me your fucking hand. Give me your hand. Just get the Here we go. You and Barbour 1015 1 mil. Oh. Alright, come on, sit you.
Now, this was Deputy Mayle's version of events taken straight from his police report. Officers were dispatched in the area of the DOH garage in Philippi, West Virginia for a complaint of a deer strike. This officer arrived on scene to help assist the incident. After being on scene for approximately 5 minutes, this officer heard a male subject yelling from his property. This action hindered this officer's ability to assist in the deer strike investigation. The male subject continued to yell at law enforcement, demanding law enforcement to move their vehicles as this officer's patrol unit was blocking the subject's driveway. This officer went to move his patrol unit for the male when he continued to yell at this officer. This officer approached the male subject, later identified as James Sublett, to better hear him, because this officer could not make out what he was saying entirely. When this officer approached the defendant advised this officer, "This is private property and you need to get the F on." At this point, this officer detected a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage emitting from the defendant's person. This officer advised the defendant that there was a motor vehicle accident and he had to make sure everyone was okay. The defendant approached this officer in an aggressive manner and advised this officer that, "I am a coal miner and have life-flighted more than you." This officer inquired the defendant for his identification card, to which the defendant refused and attempted to walk away. This action made by the defendant hindered this officer's secondary investigation. This officer restrained the defendant and attempted to place him in wrist restraints. Then the defendant began to resist further. This officer escorted the defendant to the ground and placed him into custody. So handcuffs are wrist restraints, and violently slamming somebody to the ground is, of course, escorting.
Now what are we doing? Scene of Cody's deer. Get up your base horse and let's go. We go into my car. We can go to your car.
What's your location?
The scene of the deer strike.
Okay, the scene of the deer strike.
I ain't the one resisting arrest. Take your seat. I'll be more than glad to. Actually, hang on. Anything gonna stick poke stab me? Nope. Cigarettes, wallet, cell phone. Alright, take your seat. Fucking drunk dumbass. You saw the flight? Hey, I got my camera. You wanna come? Sure.
After arresting the homeowner, putting him in handcuffs, searching him, and placing him in the back of the police car, Deputy Mayle then walks all the way back up the driveway, and you can kind of get a sense how far onto the homeowner's lot Mayle trespassed in order to perform this warrantless arrest. Now he has to explain to the man's wife and children why their husband and father is now in handcuffs in his police car.
Is his wife here? I have his keys for you. So listen. I'll give you. So listen, okay? He's going to jail tonight, okay? There's no need for that to be yelling and everything like that, okay? I can smell the alcohol in his breath, all right?
Yes.
So he's going to go to jail for...
We're trying to deal with a car wreck.
So Mayle tells the man's wife that he's under arrest because he was intoxicated and he was yelling, he was shouting. But the report said it was because he demanded his identification card and it was not provided. There are a number of problems with that. One is that it's not illegal to drink or even be intoxicated on your own property. You're not in public. That's not illegal. Secondly, there is no requirement in West Virginia that you have to carry an identification card around with you and present it to a police officer when it's demanded, even in a public place. This was not a traffic stop. He wasn't required to have a driver's license on him. He could have been walking around in his front yard like Uncle Eddie in a robe.
Shitter was full!
Third, and most importantly, even if there was such a requirement, the officer had already walked well within the curtilage of the home, all the way up the driveway to confront the man for yelling down the driveway towards him, demanding that a police car be moved off his property. So he has every right to do that. West Virginia is in the Fourth Circuit. There's actually a Fourth Circuit case from 1994, Kuclane versus Whittington, that denied qualified immunity to a police officer for entering within the curtilage of a home and performing a warrantless arrest for violating a noise ordinance. Now, how similar is that to this? The man standing in his driveway in his yard, making noise towards the police officers, and they're so sensitive that disrupted their investigation, allegedly, so they have to trespass onto his property and arrest him without a warrant? That's the big problem. They did not have a warrant. All the way back in 1994, qualified immunity was denied to a police officer for doing that in regards to violating a noise ordinance, which that may have actually been illegal. Shouting down towards a police officer demanding they get off your property is not illegal. Quite the opposite. And here's a quote from that same case. "It's difficult to conceive of a warrantless home arrest that would not be unreasonable, i.e. illegal, under the Fourth Amendment when the underlying offense is extremely minor." That was talking about a noise ordinance. Here, we're not even talking about a crime. Also, controlling binding law in the Fourth Circuit is that people have the right to question or challenge the authority of a police officer, and any resulting arrest for obstruction violates the First Amendment. Even if he had a warrant, he couldn't arrest him in West Virginia because the West Virginia Supreme Court has said that an obstruction charge requires forcible or illegal conduct that actually interferes with a police officer's discharge of official duties. So he wouldn't even be able to get a warrant for that, because just shouting at a police officer from your own property is not illegal in West Virginia, even if you don't intend it to be First Amendment speech. What about intoxication, like he told his wife?
There's no need for that to be yelling and everything like that, okay? I can smell the alcohol in his breath, all right?
Yes.
So he's going to go to jail for...
We're trying to deal with a car wreck.
And actually, if you look at the dispatch report, what Deputy Mayle told the dispatcher at the time of the arrest was that the arrest was for disorderly conduct and public intox. I wonder why neither of those actually made it into the formal written charges. Likewise, he wouldn't even be able to get a warrant for public intoxication because a person has to be in a public place, not on their own property, not at their home. Even then, according to West Virginia law, the intoxication standard is actually pretty high. It says if the officer believes that the accused violator is so intoxicated that he lacks the capacity to conduct his or her own affairs, and no other individual is willing to undertake responsibility for the violator, such as a wife and kids because he's at home, or if the officer has reasonable cause to believe that the person is likely to cause serious harm to himself or others, the person may be arrested. Again, assuming this is occurring in a public place. And it's the same thing with disorderly conduct in West Virginia. To commit that crime, the person has to be in a public place where he then disturbs the peace of others who the West Virginia Supreme Court has said cannot be police officers themselves, by violent, profane, indecent, or boisterous conduct or language, and is requested to desist by a law enforcement officer and doesn't. There could not have been probable cause for disorderly conduct because the suspect was standing well within his own property and not in a public place. So there can be no probable cause for an arrest for public intoxication. There is no obligation for the homeowner to provide identification. There's no probable cause to arrest an individual for obstruction for shouting at police officers to move their car, even if they say move your effing car. None of those are crimes. And even if they were crimes, because of where this arrest occurred, Deputy Mayle was constitutionally obligated to go get a warrant first, unless there were some sort of exigent circumstances, somebody's safety was in imminent jeopardy, something like that. Totally inapplicable here. So Deputy Mayle violated the Fourth Amendment to trespass onto the property and perform a warrantless arrest in order to then violate the First Amendment. Gee, I wonder why this case would end up getting dismissed, and I wonder why any prosecutor or anyone in police leadership, I wonder why they would have a problem with this footage if they saw it. If you don't care at all about constitutional rights, if you're completely ignoring them, then maybe it's not that bad.
I came out, but it was already too late.
If he would just
We
lay off the alcohol a little bit.
We were even trying to move the car like he asked.
I know. I'm not mad. I understand.
They are completely gaslighting the guy's wife here. If we look at the very beginning of the body cam footage from the Philippi town police officer, you can see Mayle's police cruiser, how it's blocking the driveway, and all he would have to do is back up. There's an entire space, maybe more, for him to back up and not block the driveway. They didn't try to do anything. And according to the homeowner, by the time violence was used, the cops had already told the woman involved in the deer strike that she could leave. This was all gaslighting and just flexing their authority.
So, where do I go get him tomorrow?
So you can actually go post his bond at the magistrate's office tomorrow morning, okay?
Okay.
He'll be at Tiger Valley Regional Jail, too.
And that's where I have to go get him.
Yes.
Yes. Which is, do you know that's at?
No.
So,
I don't know anything.
hey, calm
It's in
down.
Elkins, ain't it?
Calm down.
It's
So listen,
outside off 30.
so listen, you're going to hit 33. Okay?
You want me to go with you tomorrow, Mama? I'll take off work today
That
with
might be
you.
best. So listen,
I'll
you're
go with
going
the
to hit 33.
Listen, I know he's.
First exit on your
I
right.
know.
Go down,
I know where to
left.
go. I know where to go.
Sounds good.
Hey,
Y'all be safe.
I know
Thanks.
Yeah, he's been drinking and.
And you'll see the homeowner's son sort of upset, pacing around. And what you're about to see is the anabolic cop. He's thinking about it. He sort of bows up and he looks at the kid and he's like, "You got a problem?"
He hasn't left anywhere. He's been here all day. But, yes.
Please.
There's something I can do for you, sir?
I mean, they're on these people's property. They've made the guy's wife cry. The guy's kid is upset. And you can see that this police officer, he wants to get violent with the kid now.
There's something I can do for you, sir?
No, I just need to calm down.
All right, well, listen, there's no reason to be aggressive, okay? Calm
he's
down.
not
I'm not being aggressive. I don't mean to
mad.
come off that way.
Okay,
He's just mad because that's his dad, and
I
he
understand.
went to the ground like that. And
I
we have
understand.
another kid in the house crying.
I understand. Well, listen, do what you need to do.
will,
The family
buddy.
situated.
I will.
If you guys need anything, call us at the sheriff's office, okay? Yeah, have a good evening.
And just look how far they have to walk back down the driveway to get back to the public road. In fact, they have to walk past not one, not two, but 3 vehicles parked within the curtilage of this house by the time they get back to their police cruisers. There was a U.S. Supreme Court case in 2018, Collins versus Virginia, that held that police cannot enter the curtilage of a home to search a vehicle that's parked within the curtilage of that home, for example, driveway, without a warrant, even if they have probable cause to search that vehicle without a warrant if it were on a public road. Once it's in the driveway, once it's within the curtilage, they can't enter within to search. Even with probable cause, they have to have a warrant. And as you'll see from watching the last video on this same officer, he'll search your vehicle even without probable cause.
If you guys think that I'm in the game of violating people's rights, you'd be wrong.
Video that said otherwise.
And this is about the spot where the body cam footage shuts off. One last thing, though, as they're walking down the driveway, you hear this police dog barking. Well, that dog is in Deputy Mayle's vehicle, the same vehicle, I believe, that he put this homeowner into. So he's kind of giggling to the other officer, that his dog is going absolutely ape probably inches away from the face of this homeowner. I'm sure that was a fantastic experience. Of course, he thinks it's funny. Okay, after they turn off the body cams, the homeowner is taken away for processing. They never tell him what he's charged with. As I showed you, they told dispatch it was public intox and disorderly conduct, both of which require a public place, not private property. So officially, he's later booked with obstruction. He spends 14 hours in the regional jail. He's pissed off afterwards. This is a law-abiding citizen, a coal miner, a respected member of the community, and apparently much more respected than Deputy Mayle. Because after the charges were dismissed in the interest of justice, probably for all the reasons I've just explained, according to what these folks tell me, they went to the county leadership and said, you better fire this guy or we're going to sue you. Subsequently, Deputy Mayle resigned. A day later, he's hired at the Elkins Police Department. As I told you in the beginning of the video, they're claiming that Mayle was never fired or ever even under investigation at his prior place of employment. In fact, West Virginia law requires that whenever a law enforcement officer is separated from his employment with a West Virginia law enforcement agency, the chief law enforcement officer of that agency has to notify the subcommittee that certifies police officers in the state within 10 days of the separation. And that notification has to include the reason or reasons the officer is no longer employed. So they either tell the state certification subcommittee that he resigned while still in good standing, or that he resigned for some other reason, such as under investigation or under threat of termination. And these are safeguards put in place to make sure that you don't have these police officers, these bad cops, hopping departments. But it's not working, and we can see why. Because apparently what happened here is it was reported by the Barbour County Sheriff's Department that he had resigned in good standing. So what I think is happening here, and I don't base that just on this case, but I've seen it in others as well, is that police officers who are under investigation can be told verbally, get out of here while you still can, or else you're going to be fired, or you're going to have to resign under investigation or under threat of termination, in which case that will be reported. So they leave before they get reported. So the cops aren't following the rules, basically. And so now the new department, Elkins, is claiming, well, the law requires bad things to be reported. We were told he resigned under good standing. But at the same time, they also claim to undergo this comprehensive evaluation of new police officers they hire, including polygraphs, extensive background checks, medical evaluations, maybe drug tests. Do you think they drug tested this new hire? Why would he just randomly, automatically go to a new department? Is it because the pay was better? Well, no, it wasn't. We can see from the public records available, Deputy Mayle is making almost $55,000 annually salary at Barbour County Sheriff's Department. And we can see from the City of Elkins website, where they're looking to hire new officers, that they actually pay much less than that. There, they start at $18.85 an hour. So why would he just randomly go to another department where he's going to make less money? If you think it's over for Mayle as a police officer, you're wrong. Here's how this usually goes. While domestic violence charges seem to be a sort of kryptonite for police officers, a lot of times if they wait it out, the charges go away. Just like all domestic violence allegations, more often than not, the victim or the alleged victim in the case begs the prosecutors to drop the charges because they reconcile. That happens a lot with police officers. So they get fired or suspended during the pendency of the criminal charges. People forget about it. A little bit of time goes by. Then the prosecutors, who are generally big buddies with the cops, end up giving a deferral or dismiss the charges at the request of the victim, of course, because they've reconciled. The charges go away, and then they apply for another law enforcement job. And the subcommittee for certifications says, hey, look, he beat the criminal case. I mean, there have been cases where police officers have been falsely accused. They litigated those cases, they beat those cases, and were able to get their certifications back. But differentiating those cases requires the people on that subcommittee to actually look into the substance of allegations and the history of other allegations, such as we have here. Now, I hope that that doesn't happen in this case, which seems unlikely now, but give it some time and who knows. So I'll keep watching this one, and here's what you should do. Please subscribe, both here and at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com, because this platform only allows me to stay on top of things so long as I have people watching, so long as I have a growing base of subscribers. That gives us power to hold the government accountable because they won't do it themselves. Our rights don't end where your fear begins. Freedom is scary. Deal with it.
No, you don't.
Okay,
Go ahead. Drag me out.
hey, now you're gonna mace me? Really? Really, guys?
Cause for me to exit this vehicle. You have no probable cause for me to exit this vehicle, Officer Mayle, and you know it. No, you don't.
I'll be more glad. Actually, hang on. There's no need for that yelling and everything like that, okay? Is there something I can do for you, sir?